Hey guys, Becca here. So I just had this epiphany in the shower and I feel like I really need to tell you guys. I have to share it with my tribe because I need to know who else is going through this. Call me. Let's talk about it. So with 2019, we have all these beautiful goals and intentions and things being set. And one of the things that keeps coming up with me and with my friends and even with some of my clients is I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want out of a relationship. I don't know what I want out of a career. Or if you're like me, you're like, oh my God, there's so many things that I want that how could I possibly choose? Like, that's no fun. And so whatever the reason, we've told ourselves we don't know what we want. And that's actually a huge roadblock in gaining clarity, obviously, because you're telling yourself you don't know what you want. And the moment that you tell yourself that, another thing happens. A lot of times you judge yourself. If you're like me, you definitely judge yourself because you're like, you know what? I'm successful. I've worked for 3 different companies. This is the amazing story that I tell myself. So I'm like, I'm successful. I should have this all figured out right now. And like when I have that thought that, hey, I'm successful and I should have this all figured out right now, I actually start to judge myself for where I'm at. I then get super frustrated with myself. And then I'm like, well, you know what? You should have this all figured out right now. Like you're almost 30 years old. You should probably figure out what this looks like. And I realized this morning in the shower that 1, not helpful thinking. And 2, if you're like me, like, we need to stop. Like, we just need to stop thinking that we have to have it all figured out. Like, you can be a mom, you could be in a relationship, you can be in a career, and guess what? You don't need to have it all figured out. I think that sometimes we wake up in the morning and we think that someone's like going to stand over our bed and be like, you know what? You need to be successful today. You need to do this. You need to do that. You need to do that. And actually, there's no one doing that. But you know who is doing that? Like, there's no one outside of you that's doing it. It's you. So can we together make a pact that we're not going to actually hold ourselves in the position that we need to have everything all figured out? Oh, that feels good. Like once you just like let that go. Because when I think about and realize, you know what, I don't need to have it all figured out. What that actually does is like that lets me off the hook. Like that removes that like space that I just filled of judgment and like resentment and actually clears it away to see maybe even for the first time, you know, what is it out of this situation that I'm looking for? What do I really want to feel? And then from there, you can actually start to plot, write down, or talk about it, depending on how you gain clarity with people around you. What is it, the things that you do want? And one of my favorite things, and this showed up in one of my clients, and I was like, oh, she's so amazing. Maybe she's the one who even like inspired this post. But we were talking and I asked her the question, and I was like, so what do you want? Like in this area of your life, what do you want? And she's like, you know what? I'm not really sure what I want, but I can tell you what I don't want. And like, that might not be that good. And in that moment, all I could do was celebrate her and also say and acknowledge, actually, that's 100% exactly what you should be doing. Well, not should, but what you should be doing is figuring out that's what life is about, what we like and what we don't like. And half the battle is figuring out what we don't like. So if you're in a position where you're struggling and you don't know what you want for 2019, you're like, fuck, I can't create these intentions or resolutions because I don't really know what I want. Step 1, why don't you grab a piece of paper and start writing down all the things and maybe start out with one area of life. So maybe you choose career, maybe you choose family, or maybe you choose love or health. Health is really important this time of year. And write down what are all the things you don't want or you don't want to feel. So let's use the example of health. So I know right now in health, I don't want to feel pressured to work out. I don't want to feel like it's something that I have to do. I don't want to feel like it's something that's not going to be flexible with my schedule. And so after you take a look at your piece of paper and you see these 3 things that you don't want, well, guess what? Now you have at least an idea of what you could want or do want. And you don't have to know right away, but maybe you just start by writing something down. So when I take a look at that and I look at, okay, I want something that's going to be able to fit in my schedule, well, guess what? I know that I want flexibility or I don't want to feel pressured to do it. So what I do want is actually something that feels fun, that maybe feels a part of my schedule already, or maybe it's even something that I do with friends. And so by taking a look at what you don't want, you've actually just started to like remove things out of the space. And now it can actually create more possibility for what you do want. And guess what? You don't have to make a choice in that moment. But as long as you start making a list of all of the things that you do want from the don't want list, at least you're starting to gain more clarity. And from that list, you can actually reprioritize it and focus on, you know what? Like maybe on your list for me, things that came up was like, I want to feel more flexible. I want to feel like it's fun. I want it to feel like vitality. I want to feel like nourishment. But maybe that list feels overwhelming. Well, you know what? I know the number one priority on that list for me is in the area of health. I want to feel vitality. So maybe that's the thing that I go after. But it's a little bit of a process. But I just wanted to share that with you guys because I'm like, oh shit, if you are someone who is getting stuck in an area right now where you're like, I don't know what I want, sometimes the best place to start is just identifying what it is that you don't want more of, because that will actually create some contrast for you to figure out what it is that you do want. All right. Well, if you're struggling with this or if you've gone through this already, please share in the comments what you think. I'd love to know. And if you are really struggling, don't hesitate to like reach out and we can totally talk more about it. All right, guys. Love you.